this presentation. Uh, Thank you for taking time to listen to this presentation today. The topic for discussion today for this presentation is Cybersecurity Incident Law and Management Response Presentation Part 2. In this case, we are going to be looking at MGM Resort International Cybersecurity Incident Analysis. My name is Senyen Akpan, and the course topic is Cybersecurity Leadership Capstone. Company, well, look at company and incident overview. What really happened? Why do we have to talk about this? Why is this in the public domain? This is why I want to bring this, give you a little background of what transpired or what happened. MGM Resort International is hospitality and entertainment industry. And this industry is company is known everywhere, and it's a very popular one for that matter, and has a lot of branches, employees, and a lot of guests all around the world. So in September 2023, ransomware attacked by um, Alf Black Cat and then disrupted the hotel operations, casino floor, digital keys, social engineering led to to this access, ransomware deployment, compromise sensitive guest data, names, IDs, SS, social security numbers. Financial loss was over $100 million, reputational impact as well. Response, system offline, law enforcement, credit monitoring, and all this was going on as a result of this. So how did it happen? Some hackers, were able to deceive the help desks, and they got some access. And how did they do this? Through social engineering, by tricking somebody to pick a call, to respond to a call, and giving access that was not supposed to be given. I know social engineering can go through as well as social media or email address or even phone numbers. And so this was able to give the hackers access, through the helpdesk, and they took control of the network of this industry, and they held them captive, and they encrypted a lot of data, and that gave them control over the whole data of the industry of the company. The nature of the attack. Attackers use social engineering to gain access, targeted the IT help desk by impersonating legitimate employees. In this case, they pretended to be a legitimate employees, and then they got access some information that was supposed to be privileged to employees who have access to this data, and they gave out the informations, and that's how they exploit them. So they employ phishing and pre-texting taxes during phone calls, exploit weak or inconsistent identity verification process, move literally within MGM's network to escalate privileges, deploy ransomware to encrypt and exfiltrate sensitive data. Now, impact. What was the impact of of this attack on the MGM operations? Check-in and check-out systems were affected. Digital room keys, reservation platform became, inoperable. They could not operate, they could not do nothing. ATMs and slot machines across casino floor were disabled. Employees forced to revert to manual operations, including pen and paper process. You can imagine a large hotel and casino, for that matter, having to do with this number of guests going to, hand and hand to write, guests information because of this attack. Internal communications were disrupted, requiring printed memos for all staff. Um, Guest services and amenities were significantly limited or delayed. Disruption lasted over a week, causing widespread operational and financial strain. Impact on the customers and data. When attack of this kind of at this level takes place, there's going to be a lot of data uh, harvesting a lot of by the hackers. They're going to take a lot of data, have access to a lot of data that they are not supposed to have access to. And so sensitive gets data compromise people's name, social security, their banking information, financial information of all kinds of stuff, where they got access to them, including names, ID, social security numbers. Financial losses for the company exceeded over 10 million, $100 million. Customers experienced delayed or canceled reservations and disrupted stays. Increased risk of identity theft and financial fraud for affected guests. When this happens, so you can know that identity theft is going to take place. People are going to take other people's name, and financial fraud also take place. Social security numbers is being affected in this case, and credit cards, used for these bookings online are also going to be, these fraudsters are going to have access to it and then do a lot of damages to the guests. Regulatory scrutiny and potential legal actions due to data protection failures. So a lot of people are going to, in this case, sue MGM for their negligence and for people having access to, these hackers having access to people's information. So a lot of, scrutiny and regulatory, there was no compliance. The compliance and in this case were not met and things were not put in place. So there was deep failure on the part of MGM. Significant reputational damage, eroding customers' trust and brand loyalty. When something like this is happening, it's not just immediate financial loss. It's not only, most times people look at the immediate financial loss and the delays and all that happen. But most of the times, the major damage is the long-term damage because when this happens, people are going to lose confidence. For example, if they were able to have access to people's data, people's bank account, people's credit card, and financial fraud, and it's taking place, on the customers. And these customers are, apart from, the all that they suffered in the process of these hacking operations, they are going to lose confidence in this MGM as a company, and the long time effect is most times is most, or more, more damaging or most damaging than any other kind of effect because customers are going to lose trust and brand loyalty. Now, immediate response measures. What was done, as this hacking took place? That's what we are talking about right here. Systems taken offline to maintain the attacks and prevent further damages. So now they're going to take down the server, take everything offline, so that the hackers will not have, more access to, cause more damage. Law enforcement and relevant regulatory authorities notified promptly, and now so all law enforcement has to be brought in this case. Regulatory authorities has to be notified that something like this is going on because you do not want to manage the information by trying to know. You have to escalate it immediately so that those who can help out, to cutting down the damage and making sure that the attacking process stop has to be involved immediately. Credit monitoring and identity protection services offered to affected individuals. Okay, incident response team activated to assess breach scope and coordinate recovery. So incident response teams, in every organization, there's need to have incident response team, and these people are the people that will, strictly act, go into action in case of any breach, data breach, or any kind of attack of any kind, and there will have been incident response and recovery, team, which is very important for any organization to have, so that when something happens, they will be coordinated so that they will know the right step to take and to be able to, curtail the damages that hackers can cause. So what they happen, they move, they activated, they move into action, to assess breach scope. What is the scope and how far have they gone in this kind of attack? Then they will be able to, coordinate recovery. Then communication with guests, employees, and stakeholders are initiated to provide updates. So now, not only employees are going to be involved in this case, guests, customers are going to be informed that something like this is going on. So if you're having any message, for example, if somebody's calling you or that they are calling you from NGM to give them some sensitive information, don't give them, because this is what is happening to us. We are having cyber attack at this point, which is very important, so that all the guests and customers will know what is going on, so that they will not further pass more information to the hackers, and that will eventually do more damages to the guests. So collaboration with cybersecurity experts and vendors to investigate and remediate vulnerabilities. So they will now see where the vulnerability is coming from, where the weaknesses, where did they penetrate, how did they get access to all this, how did it happen. So the cybersecurity team, which is very important in large organizations, rules most strictly, they will most fast into action to be able to check where the weaknesses are, so that they can block and prevent further damages and attack and accesses. So legal analysis, relevant law and regulations. So now, when something like this, you want to look at where did they fall, would they fail with regulatory bodies and the laws that are in place to be able to guide operations. Now, U.S. regulations, CCPA, California Privacy Act, governs personal data protection for California residents. International GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, applies to European Union citizens' data. Potential violations include failure to safeguard personal financial information, non-compliance with mandatory breach notification timelines and procedures, possible exposure to regulatory fines, enforcement actions, and civil lawsuits, requirement to cooperate with law enforcement and regulatory authorities during investigation and remediation. So all these are going to be looking into why this is going on. Which law did they fail? What are the compliance aspect that was not followed in this case? So, and being that as an organization that is a world organization that gets from all parts of the world, so some of these laws are going to be applied in this case. Legal and response challenges. Technical complexity of attack, social engineering, and lateral movement made detection difficult. The complexity of attack, social engineering, and lateral movement made detection difficult. So when this happened, the kind of attack also that was carried out made the way it was done made it difficult for them to have detected it. Cross-border data issue involving international clientele and regulatory requirements. Jurisdictional challenges in tracking and prosecuting attackers across multiple countries. Now, when attack of this kind of nature takes place, we call it cross-border, attack, which means it's happening in a different country. And being that this is a worldwide company that people come from all parts of the world, so they're going to be looking at the laws in different places that that is applicable in this case, multiple countries. Coordination with multiple law enforcement agencies and regulatory bodies. Now it's not going to be like U.S. law enforcement alone. They have to also get cross-border law enforcement to get involved, to be able to track, to be able to um, um, uh, track, assess, and stop, and recover from the attack. So they will need all hands to be on deck from different countries who can help out in this case. Difficulties in timely breach notification to affect parties worldwide, difficulties in timely breach notification. So now this thing is happening as the attack is going on. They are also trying to get everybody on board across borders, to see how they can stop the attack. Uncertainty regarding legal liability and responsibility for third party system and vendors. So what will happen? Uncertainty regarding legal liability and the responsibilities of third parties, vendor systems, and vendors. So A lot of operation processes are outsourced to other vendors, and maybe in this case, the management of the network, the system, everything in place, so that they have in place. So these aspects, who is going to be held responsible, in terms of legal responsibility and liability, who is going to be responsible for what? So all these things has to be put into consideration. Regulatory obligations, timely breach notification to authorities and affected individuals as mandated by law. So now you have to also, like, not just as a try to save the situation, but as in terms of being, according to the law, you have to notify authorities and individuals immediately. That is what the law requires. Ongoing compliance with data protection standard as such as CCPA and GDPR, collaboration with law enforcement and regulatory agencies during the investigation, transparent communication with customer regarding the nature and scope of the breach. So they have to give, nothing is hidden. They have to give them exact how the scope and nature, how this is playing out. Not because you want to save the name of your organization, name of the company, you start hiding some information which may not help, which may be counterproductive and not the day. So maintenance of detailed incident and records for regulatory review and audit. So there has to be proper steps by step, and everything has to be detailed and documented, so that a record has to be kept in terms of review, because there will be post incident review. So what is going to be done is that they're going to see how the whole process went in terms of trying to stop the attack, what was done before, during, and after. So these things are going to be reviewed. Was the right thing done? Is there anything that was missing out? If what something was missing out, all these steps are going to be audited. So, and if something was lacking and was not presented in the course of the operation trying to stop this attack, that made it not very successful, it means in future they're going to be reviewed, and that is going to be put in the policy document, so that in the future, then they will know that that aspect is not left out anymore, because attack doesn't happen one time. It may happen in the future, as the case may be. Implementation of corrective actions and policy update to prevent future violation. So now, if there was, like there was a violation, and in the case of how they got access and how they got this attack, there has to be corrective actions, and policy update to make sure that in the future, this kind of a thing is not going to happen. For example, or trainings, implementation of corrective measures, that all employees are going to be trained, for example, on how to when and not to receive some certain calls, or if some certain calls are not clear enough, or information such information, one or two or three informations are not presented, or the caller is not appearing to be who it should be, such so information should not be released, because in this case it was done. And so things like that are going to be in terms of staff training, uh, in terms of their uh, what information should be, information management has to come in, and all these steps has to be also be put as corrective measures, so that moving forward, and they will not fall in the trap anymore. Management core functions, risk management. Assessments on digital risk and vulnerabilities throughout the organization. The importance of regular risk analysis for all digital infrastructures and assets. Management assessments of digital risk. So now I have to now do assessments of digital risk. What risk is available there? Vulnerabilities. What are the weaknesses that we have as they have as an organization that will have made this to happen? Importance of regular risk analysis. So they have to do risk analysis from time to time to know what they are exposed to, the kind of weaknesses that may likely present in the environment. So the kind of risks they are exposed to, who are those that can actually easily attack them, in what way form can they come? So this is risk analysis. And then digital infrastructure and asset also has to be checked. Proactive strategies to identify, evaluate, and mitigate cyber threat. Continuous monitoring. Of course, emerging threat and involving tactics used by attackers. So Now they also have to be up to date in the kind of trend attackers are using in different places, because a lesson learned from other people will not allow you to make the same mistake. So when you know that this is what the attackers are doing, you'll be able to put your house in place so that you will not fall victim of that kind of attack. Implementations of risk controls such as a network segmentation and multiple factor authentication. This is very, very important. The level of multiple factor authentication has to be, robust in such a way that it's not just going to be one-way signing that somebody can just have access and put the password and that's it. No, there has to be multiple way of signing, maybe 3 or 4, so that by the time somebody is trying to trick somebody, so the first two may fail, they may not be able to succeed in other steps. So these are things that has to be put in place. The integration of waste management into organizational decision making and strategic planning, which is very, very important. Management core functions, policy development, employees training and social engineering ways and proper access control, clear internal protocols for identity verification and handling sensitive information. Yes, employees training is very, very important. What you need to do from time to time, the kind of information. So there has to be employees training. Then also, when it comes to access control, then also there has to be information management. What kind of information can you not give just to anybody? They have to pass this, this to the employees. Continuous review and regulatory update of cyber security policies, and procedures has to be done. Developments of incident reporting and escalation policies for rapid response. Establishment of clear guidelines for third party and vendor cybersecurity requirement. Communication of cybersecurity policies to all staff and reinforcement through ongoing education. Very, very important. Management core function, incident response, existence of test incident response plan tailored to organizational needs. What kind of needs um, incident response do we need that will be able to be good enough for our organization? Destination of response teams with clear rules and communications and protocols. So response teams have to know their work. It has to be spread out clearly so that they know what to do when attack of this nature takes place. Regular incident response drills and simulation to ensure preparedness. Now, this is very important because it's not just enough for you to put the incident response and recovery in place. There has to be a test run. Test running means that they have to trick as if that something like that is actually taking place so that they will now test how ready and how quickly the system can respond and recover in case something like that happens. So this makes you know that the kind of plans, the response and recovery plans you have in place is able to respond and solve your problem or the attack issue and problems whenever it happens. Rapid detection and containment of breaches to minimize impact. Post-incident analysis and documentation for continuous improvement. Integration of lessons learned into future response strategies and training. Yes, the integration of whatever lesson that was learned then has to be put into future, strategies that you have in place and trainings from time to time. Cybersecurity framework for governance and compliance. And NIST cybersecurity framework, structural approach to risk management and detection, response and recovery. ISO IEC 27001 establishes an information security management system, ISMS, for continuous improvement. Framework support regulatory compliance and structural governance practices. Provides standardized process for identifying and addressing security gaps, facilitating regular audit and assessment to ensure ongoing effectiveness, enhance organizational resilience, and stakeholders' confidence in security posture. Recommendations to stakeholders: executive invest in advanced AIM and regulatory staff training. So identity and access management is a very important component of IT or cybersecurity process in any organization or structure in every organization. Because this really tells a lot of who and have access to what, and then so when you have a very robust and well planned IAM in place, it means documented IAM process in place. You cannot easily, and all this, also involves multiple factor authentication. It's all within identity and access management. So when you have this in place, it's very important for the protection of any organization. But prioritize cybersecurity in governance and strategies. Customers use multi-factor of authentication, monitor accounts, stay informed. Regulators update standards and encourage sector-wide collaboration. Conclusion and key lessons learned. Cyber threats are rapidly evolving. Human vulnerabilities are a major risk. So, in any case, it is somebody that will make the mistake. And so that's why it has to be human vulnerabilities. So, people have to be trained and equipped to know that the new trend of attack, how these attackers are carrying out the attacks from, cyber attack. So they have to be trained, they have to be informed, and there is the human beings, the employees who are working in that organization that has to be well equipped to be able to know when this attack comes and avoid it. Law and regulatory compliance are crucial for trust and resilience. Risk management policy and incident response for foundational foundational. Sorry. Framework like NIST and ISO IEC 27001 are essential for governance and compliance. With this, we have come to the end of this presentation today, and I want to thank you very much for taking time to listen to me. Now, once again, I hope you have had a good time listening and learning a lot that happened to MGM and what we can do in our own different organizations so that we don't fall into this kind of problem. Thank you very much once again. Have a great day.